Folks, welcome to 2024. Power of sales have more than double. Let me talk to you about the first call I've had on January 1st, and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for the freehold market for week ending January 3rd, 2024. So my first call this year on January 1st in the afternoon, this gentleman called me saying he's in trouble. He needs to sell right away. So in conversation, I'm trying to, obviously I'm asking questions, finding out what's going out. Turns out he's missed his mortgage payment twice. He is going to miss his third month in a row mortgage payment. He's already received letters from the bank. He's spoken to the bank. He's tried to figure out how to make these payments before even he defaulted on this first mortgage payment. He's tried everything. He's got no choice. Either he sells the home now right away, or the bank takes it over. The bank obviously being the lender. Power of sales have more than doubled 2023 versus 2022. And I'll show you I'll show you the exact numbers once we get into the numbers part of this show. But they've more than doubled. So there's lots of people out there experiencing what this person's and their family's going through. This is a husband, wife with 2 young kids. They bought the house a couple years back. Look, we could get into why did they buy a house that maybe they couldn't afford, but we don't know all the story there. There's lots of people in this situation that actually could afford it when they bought it, and then things changed, like interest rates just went through the roof and their mortgage payments as a result went through the roof, or other problems. What if somebody lost their job along the way? Like these are life situations that happen. So there's no point in analyzing why they buy a house they couldn't afford, because I know I'm going to get those comments. Maybe they did a ton of renovations. Maybe they took a ton of equity out and now they can't afford. Like there's all sorts of reasons why people get it themselves into this situation. And some are self-inflicted wounds that they just have made bad mistakes, and other things, life happens and things are beyond their control. And financially, with the other financial pressures that this economy now is really putting on everybody, some people just can't hold on anymore and they're defaulting on payments. And that's why power of sales are more than double. My advice, so now, before I give any advice on the situation, so now we've got this family, either they let the bank take it over and sell their home under power of sale, which is a very, very bad situation to be in, or they sell it quickly. It's possible to sell quickly, but they have lost all negotiating power, really. Think about it. They need an absolute quick sale. We need to get the home ready, get it on the market, price it aggressively so it gets sold quickly. How much? They don't have the luxury of really trying to get a better price for their home. They don't have the runway that if the first 1 or 2 offers that come in, if 1 or 2 offers come in right away, they don't have the runway to hold off for a better offer. They need to get the home sold fast. And that's assuming that the value today actually will cover all their payments, their mortgage, they'll at least break even. Who knows if they're going to have equity on this property? Like there's all sorts of negatives when you wait till the very last minute and you lose negotiating power. My advice would be, as with this family that called me, the writing was on the wall. They knew they were going down this road. They knew they couldn't make the payments. Why wait to what seems to be the very last minute? If you know the writing's on the wall. If you know this is the situation you're in, better to react early. For sure, do everything you can to keep the home. See if you can, I don't know if another job is in the process there. I don't know if you can borrow money from friends. I don't know if there's equity in a home to make some payments, whatever you got to do. But do it early. And if the writing's on the wall that there's no way you're going to be making these payments, sell the home while you still have time. Sell the home while you can still make decisions. Because waiting to the last minute, all those decisions, you don't have the power. You don't have the time to be able to make proper decisions for yourself. And if the bank takes it over, all those decisions will be made for you. So do not wait for the last minute. If the writing's on the wall, decide early while you still have some control. Because otherwise, all your control will be taken away from you. It's not a happy story I'm starting the year off, but this is life, and lots of people are in this situation in the GTA today. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, below this video, there's a link to my calendar. There's another link up here. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we are. Once again, welcome to 2024. We have a new lineup on Tuesdays. Today, it's all about freehold properties for the city of Toronto. So detached, towns, and semis just for the city of Toronto. No condos. We're not talking about condos in this show. Tomorrow, Wednesday, it's all about condos. City of Toronto and York Region condos and Peel condos. So it's going to be condos for the GTA on Wednesday. Thursday is the York Region show for detached properties. And Friday is going to be the Peel Region, Peel and Durham for detached properties. And Sundays we have a new show that's kind of going to be whatever we want to talk about. So that's the lineup. Tune in, subscribe. Here we go. So we said power of sales are up. They've more than doubled. That's how we're going to start here. Here's a chart broken down by week, broken down by month. This is only for listed power of sale properties across the GTA. So all over Durham, Halton, Peel, Toronto, York Region by month. The blue, that's for 2022. The orange, that's for 2023. Every single month last year, power of sales were much higher than the year before. And in fact, overall, we went from 300 power of sales in 2022 to 625 power of sales for 2023. That's more than double. That's 108% increase in power of sales. So lots of people are experiencing this. There's lots of people on the border. There's lots of people that have sold their homes just before power of sale came into effect, before the lender took over their home and sold it. There's lots of people experiencing this right now. I think it's going to get worse. You know, I'm not predicting, but it kind of feels that, especially with everything going on and more mortgages renewing and all sorts of things happening. It just, 2024 could be even worse than what we've been seeing here. But power of sales are up. Is it enough to move the needle? Is it enough to drop prices overall? Who can say right now? But they're way up. They've doubled. That's a concerning number. Let's get into another chart here. So this is for detached properties only. This is for all the cities, for Toronto, City of Toronto and all the cities that surround the City of Toronto. Average sold price for detached properties broken down by week for 3 months. Week ending January the 3rd, City of Toronto, average sold price, $1,485,000 in the middle. We've got Markham, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, City of Toronto, Mississauga, Durham, and Brampton. Now, if you look back, although I only have 3 months here, the thick red line, that's the City of Toronto. Usually for most of the year, City of Toronto's average sold price falls in the middle. Usually the York region cities, Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham, have a higher average sold price for detached properties than the City of Toronto. And then below the City of Toronto, or lesser average sold price, would be Mississauga, Brampton, and the Durham region. That's just how the average sold price works out for the City of Toronto. It's normally about middle ground. Still not, I'm not saying it's inexpensive. It's still very expensive to buy a property in the City of Toronto, but average sold price, it's not the highest. Let's get started. We're talking freehold properties for the City of Toronto. Detached average price, semi-average prices down here. I do have condo on this chart to show the spread between condo and detached properties. It's quite high. Condos and semis. Towns, we don't have a number. There were 0 freehold townhouses sold for week ending January the 3rd. Let's get started with detached properties. Before I get into any of these numbers, and this is an ongoing theme anytime we're talking about long weekends or holiday season, we're talking Christmas break, New Year's break, all that time, I'm calling it the twilight zone. We don't know what to expect with prices. We don't know what to expect with average sold prices. We don't know what to expect with volumes. Volumes tend to drop, but because of that, well, look here, for week ending December 27th, 40 detached properties were sold. 12 of those were at $2 million or more. The previous week, it was only 6, so it doubled. But the week before that, week ending December 13th, 34 properties sold at $2 million or more. Look what happened at average sold price. So before we get into the twilight zone calendar, average sold price, I'm not saying it's predictable, but it moves a little bit. Whether it's going up or going down, the weekly movement isn't so much, the weekly difference in price. But you get the twilight zone and then you get these peaks and valleys. So all I'm saying is take these numbers that are in the twilight zone calendar part of the year with a grain of salt. Understand that 1 or 2 sales one way or another affects the overall average sold prices. So for week ending January the 3rd, and in that week, you've got New Year's. Week ending January the 3rd, 30 detached properties were sold across the City of Toronto. 6 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price, I've changed the screen already, but average sold price is $1,485,000, which is 4% lower than what it was for the same week a year ago. The median price is $1,151,000, which is 6% lower than what it was a year ago. Now, the dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. We use that because it kind of smoothens out the peaks and valleys, and it makes it easier to spot a trend. And that's what we're really doing with these charts. Not analyzing every single week, but you put all the weeks together, what's the trend? Are we heading up, down, staying the same? What's going on? Well, if you look at the dotted line, you can see both average price and median price have been trending down up to the twilight zone time. And then after that, look at the numbers and say, they really an indication of the overall average and overall trend. But before twilight zone, trending down, median price was trending down more than the average price was. The sales, well, we were selling higher, but in the middle of the twilight zone, kind of sales are similar to what they were a year ago. And listings, I've got 3 months on the board here. Listings this year, which is the orange, versus the blue, which was a year ago. We are listing way more detached properties this year than we did a year ago. Similar listings to what we're doing a year ago in the twilight zone calendar part. Active listings coming way down. That's expected. A lot of listings expire by the end of the year. It's just a natural thing. You list your property in the fall and you say, okay, let's try it up to the end of the year. It's just a natural thing to not go further, and then you'll reevaluate what you're going to do with your home. So lots of properties expired by the end of the year. Lots of sellers chose to pull their properties from the market. So active listings, the fact that they're dropping is not necessarily an indication that we bought everything. It's just what's available for sale. It could be some were purchased, but many of them have come off the market, and we'll see what happens with them as we kind of head into the new year, because I do expect a lot of them back on the market. Months of inventory sitting at 7.1, jumped way up. But remember, we're in the twilight zone. Just before that, average price was coming down. Months of inventory, gradually you could say maybe it was going up, but sitting more in a balanced market almost every single week except the very first week of the 3 months. But after that, we've been sitting in a balanced market, more than 3 months of inventory. Here's all the city of Toronto, but broken down into 9 sections. I'm not putting a lot of data into this week's show for the different areas. I mean, there's 1 property sold here, 1 property sold in Rexdale, 2 properties sold in Willowdale. Why are we gonna, am I gonna put an average price for 2 properties or for 1 property? It doesn't make any sense. However, some of the other areas, Etobicoke sold 7, still not a ton, but we have an average sold price of 1.7 million. Months of inventory sitting at 4.7. Scarborough sold 12 detached properties. That's 40% of all the sales that Toronto did, the city of Toronto as a whole. So 40% were sold. Months of inventory sitting at 3.5 months of inventory for Scarborough. Average sold price is just under 1.2 million. Let's look at semis. These are semi-detached. Week ending January the 3rd, 3 semi-detached properties were sold. None of those were more than 1.5 million. So it's only 3. Average sold price is just over $1 million. Remember, Twilight Zone, before Twilight Zone, average prices were coming down. 1,002,000 is 11% lower than what it was this time a year ago. The median price is 23% higher than what it was a year ago. Remember, sales were very low. Only 3 were sold. Months of inventory shot way up, but that's based on only 3 sales. It's not a typical normal week for the sales of semi-detached. But if we're only buying or selling 3 a week, that shoots months of inventory way up to 3.3 months of inventory. Townhouses. No freehold townhouses were sold for week ending January the 3rd. Prior to that, it's not like sales of freehold townhouses are high to begin with. So the fact that none were sold the prior week, a week ending 27, only 3 were sold, you get these huge peaks and valleys because sales are so low. Again, none were sold. Median price, we're talking a week prior, is basically a little over $1 million. There is no months of inventory for freehold townhouses before that, but that's still week ending 27. It was way up at 7.2. But overall, for most of the 3 months leading up to the Twilight Zone, townhouse for freehold townhouse, months of inventory has been between 3 and mid 4 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. Again, townhouses, no sales. We don't have a months of inventory. Semis 3.3, detached 7.1. It's week ending January the 3rd. Within that week was New Year's break. Before that was the Christmas with Christmas Day, Boxing Day. It's all the holiday season. Numbers are all hard to really take that serious, but we see the trend going into the Twilight Zone calendar part of the year. And now we're going to start to see, as the weeks go on, us coming out. And let's see where we at. Are we going to be going up? Are we going down? It's really going to be an awesome, very interesting 2024. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.